Good morning. I never feel like the last day is the ending or completion. I feel like it's only the beginning. It feels like we've gotten our assignment for the days to come. You know, it doesn't feel like this that's presented or has been presented in the last couple of days was what anything from this point back has been about. But it's more about where we're going from here there. And I'd love to have put a big banner over the door, and sometimes maybe one day I will if I ever do this again, that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." You know, all I can say is welcome to mysticism. And if you want to get off the path, I highly suggest that you do that you get the heck off the path. If you can, good luck. You know, it's an inside job, and I'm not sure any of us has agreed 100% and signed on that dotted line. I said, sure, I'll come in this time and be a mystic. And as Lee said, instead of putting my aim and goal on getting things, I'm going to be willing to give everything over and let go of everything and grow and change and go inward and ignore the world and not get attached. And I mean, come on, the things we're told that we've got to do to be on here. Whew. You know, it's like it's not a floating path, you know. If you want to float, go back to the drugs and alcohol and the gurus that sit in the caves. If you can do that, I'd say go for it. The reason I'm saying that is this morning from the little meanderings around and hearing different people, there were a lot of things that were going bump in the night for a lot of people. And as my friend Sherry said, there's nothing like a day of silence to allow all that sitting underneath out there as you're wandering around in the world. Just try to find quiet when you're in the world. You can't go in an elevator. You can't get out of your car anymore. You cannot go in a restaurant. You can't even sit on their patio that speakers aren't blaring at you. You try to go to a resort and go to a swimming pool, and there's music being, you know, pushed at you the whole time. It's very difficult, especially if you live in a city, you know, of any size, to go anywhere that there's not a boom box or a siren or something clanking going off, and all of that stuff that sits under there. You know, we don't have to listen to it quite as strongly until you come to a retreat and you get away from all that. And our first day in, we had the leaf blowers and stuff, and I loved yesterday that big party down below. Wasn't that fun? I thought, isn't this great? You know, and it's all God. And I am so grateful that I was trained by teachers that well, I had one that really would close doors and do all that. And sometimes I'll close the door, but in that chapel, especially last night, I just wanted to close that door because we'd been hearing that music all day long, and I thought it was time for just a little silence. But I had another teacher that we would get classes that the darndest things would happen, and she said, good. And I say to you, good, because I have to be able to walk about through the noise regardless of what sounds. And I love music too, but I'm talking about music that you haven't chosen to hear at that particular time, and maybe not your taste, and it's everywhere. And the boom boxes, I love when the cars come up with the guys and gals, you know, as many gals now as guys, just blaring that stuff, you know. And I used to be irritated by it, and now, you know, it's like, how else are they can't stand to hear what's going on inside. And thank God they have the boom box until they're able to hear themselves, because they can't stand to hear it right now. It's too extreme for them. And You know, it's like, just get it louder, get it louder, get it louder, to drown out. And what they're drowning out is the thing they long for the most, you know, is that peace, that silence, that. But what happens is, when we remove ourselves from all of that, and so many of you have been doing this for years and coming, and a lot of you have never been to a retreat before, and I remember my early days, and I remember how difficult the early ones were for me. So I have a lot of compassion, and at no time, you know, do I think you should be any way other than you are, because it's, you can say what you want about it not being a process. Silence is not a process. I can drop right into it right now, but what is a process is me maturing enough emotionally and physically to be able to stand the outer thumping and bumping and loud noises. And I just say, give yourself a break. And there's the way I know the lot was going on yesterday is we have a lot of questions. And every one of them, just about, I'm going to give the answer first. Well, not really, but I mean, there's only one answer, and that's God and Spirit. That's the only answer there is. What was the question? To one who has had the experience, there is no need to explain it. Maybe you read this morning when you came in. And to one who has not had the experience, the God experience, the call, the drawing, the demand to know God, the demand to know self, the demand, I've got to get in there and I've got to touch it. I have to fondle it. I must be with it until I realize that I'm it. To one who has not experienced that, there is no way to explain it. What to do but to exclaim. You know, it's like the best analogy I can give is, you know, well, I'm going to read some of the questions and then you'll know where I'm going with this. But to be a little bit blunt, since this class is what it is, explaining my spiritual connection and what happens when I'm within in that deep silence of the peace and having that union, that communion. For me to try to tell you how to get it or what it was like is like me trying to explain an orgasm to you. I can't do that. I can't tell you what mine's like. I can't tell you how I got it. And the same with the spiritual life. And that the reason I give that analogy is I think you, and have you ever heard people say, I'm not sure if I have ever had an orgasm, and you look at them and you go, then honey, you haven't. Right? You haven't. Because if you have, you know it. And if you've had that touch and that experience with God, you know it. And you can try to run from it, you know, you can turn your back on it, and many do for many, many years, and, you know, try to put anything and everything out there in there instead of. But once you've tasted it, you know, and once you've had the experience, to one who's had the experience, there's no need to ever explain it. And to the one who has not, there's no way you can explain it. You know, there's no words. There's no words. But these questions are kind of all about wanting to figure it out and control it and make it work. And they're just fabulous. You know, how can all of our concepts die? When a concept or judgment rises up, what actions can we take to dissolve the nothingness that we are told that it is? And the problem here is there isn't anything you can do to fix it. There's only one thing to know, and that's it's absolute powerless. it's powerless. And because it's a hypnotic dream picture, and concepts or judgments are no different than anything else that the mind delivers. The mind is delivering these judgments. The mind is delivering, the criticisms and the they're not good enough or you're not good enough. And the same with disease. I don't care if it's disease. I don't care if it's lack or limitation. I don't care if it's loneliness. I don't care if it's abandonment. I don't care whatever it is you're feeling. There's no way to pick up some magic wand and change it or control it or fix it because how do you break hypnotism? It's all hypnotism. It's all mesmerism. It's all a dream you made up. The world made up is beaming at you. And I'm not going to personalize that, beaming at you. That's the beauty of Joel's message, is the two main things that sets him apart from any other message is his principle of impersonalization and nothingization. Those are the two principles that sets him apart from any of the other mystical paths, to my knowledge. And that might not be a true statement. He said that. Might not be true. It might be a few others. I just don't happen to be in India right now, or out in the height of Mount Shasta. But how do you break hypnotism? And this is from the Realization of Oneness, and it gives the pages. And I love this because there's some new students here that have just kind of started on the path, maybe in the last year or two or a few months. And it's just so dear. It's so dear because we who've been here a while know that it takes years and years and years. How do you break this hypnotism? How do you break the hypnosis that is binding this person to greed or miserliness or lust or fear? And I'm going to repeat that word, or fear, because everything expressed that's going on with Bump in the Night is about fear, and it's always fear I'm going to lose something or I'm not going to get something, including the spiritual message. What if I'm not high enough, meditated enough, aren't getting it, I'm going to miss the boat? There's that fear going on of how come I'm not as far along as the guy next to me, or how come, the fear of losing it, or the fear of not getting it. It required, this is Joel speaking, it required years and years of meditation, almost of heartbreak, before it was ever revealed to me that the way you break the hypnotism was to know that hypnotism is not a power. To know it's not a power. So no matter what's dressing up and coming your way to scare you, or to tell you you're not enough, or you're not going to ever make it along this path, it has no power unless I'm firing. We have one little spark of flame that says, you're no good, and then we start feeding that until it gets such a big bonfire. We have to actually pick up the phone and call somebody else to say, help, my hair is on fire, help me put it out. And we just stand back, and all we do is know and stand on those principles. It's not anything. It's in the dream world. It's in your movie. It's coming out of mind. Your universal antenna was up and picked up these particular things that are scaring you. And we just stand on that. Sometimes we say those words to you. Sometimes we just drop in and we know. We don't know how we know. We just know. We just know that that which is appearing now as a power cannot be, because what we learned this weekend, very, very firmly is the way that we know that it's not real is it is passing. It does not last. It is not real if it's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Realness, reality is eternal. It never changes. It always is. So are we going to latch on and give power to these things that are going to come and go and die and come and go and die? Or are we going to turn, no power. It has no power over me. It looks like it. It's taking my children away. It's taking my home away. I don't know if I'll have food tomorrow. It's looking like these things. It's taking my arm now. Now it's going to take my left foot. But it has no power if I turning to the eternal. Well, maybe I didn't need that foot anyway, this right now. I'm serious, and I'm being light about it at the same time, because the bottom line is that principle. The only way we can break hypnosis of thinking we're going to have any control is knowing that it has no power. There's only one power. I am not going to use that power. I am going to turn to that power and allow it to use me, or use the truth of nothingness. It's nothing, honey. It's nothing, honey. There's just a huge difference. Once we know there's only one power and one God, and it's us, but we're not it. If you can wrap that around, if you can see it, I like to see it as a movie marquee. It's not Dulcie or Bud or John or Mary present God. It's God presents Mary, Bud, Dulcie, flower, automobile that pulls up right when you needed it, whatever it is. That's God appearing as. And I am not going to control that. It is going to have its way. Its way. And my job is to, as Joel continues to say in everything, become the watcher. So what am I to do with these questions? How can I stay connected and living in the busy world, driving in traffic, having friends, having problems, being the only power that I see out there? What can I do? Nothing. Do nothing. And in that nothing, we let it go and we relax back. And it's not in the doing, it's in the not doing. It's not in the grabbing something to fix it. It's in the letting it all go and rest back behind the movie picture, behind the friends, the traffic, the jobs, the children, the parents, the whatever it is, the mates. I'm viewing this incorrectly. I'm thinking this has power over me. Whoop, it caught me again there for a minute. But, and it's like snapping the fingers. Wake up. Presence. Here now. Wake up. Wake up. Be still. Go in. Right here. Moment by moment. There it is. The peace that is beyond anything the world can ever give me. And then I let it go. And I rest and I sit and I be still. And if I can't do it right then, I know it's sitting back in there, allowing me to get back to wherever I can walk in, close a door, be still. But in the meantime, I have to be able to do it in the marketplace. I have to be able to do it on the job, in the traffic, when the mate walks in having a fit over something. And even if I react externally just by bodily physical reaction, like when someone hits your knee and your knee flies up, a lot of times that will happen emotionally and physically, but in the meantime, there's that watcher back there knowing, just another dream, just another burp, just another spiritual burp. Excuse me. Oops, missed again. I cleaned that one up. Anyway, okay. Mark, let me get back to some of these now. And there's some article from Namaste or something that says, how is it that we, quote, make them powers by fearing them, and we make them greater powers by fighting them? Easy. The more I resist out there, and the more I want to pick up a sword and go for it to try to clean it up, the bigger the dream picture gets. So that's how I make it a power, by resisting it. Oh, no, I don't want that coming my way. Oh, no. And we just, no, coming my way. Isn't that silly? It's really thinks it's going to convince me that there are two powers, it and God. And I get to stand right there and say, okay, give it all you got. Because I know that there's a power greater right here as my consciousness looking out at this, almost like a father sees a little toddler trying to put, a round peg into a square hole, and just, he'll learn. And finally the child picks up something else and figures it out. And it's the same with us. There's that one, I think the movie was called The Littlest Buddha. Wonderful, wonderful visual in there, where the Buddha sat in the Bodhi tree. It's the best visual that movie snapped it for me. He sat there in total meditation, and armies came at him, and dancing, it was like fear, everything under the sun that could scare him in those days, tigers and rampaging elephants and huge armies and arrows being shot right at him, and then over here the dancing girls and the wine and the party, and trying to entice him, and he just sat. No power, I, here, and he just sat. And that's what we're being asked to do. Perhaps not the body sitting in a chair, but just sitting. And we get caught. Dear ones, that's just it. This is a path that is not easy, because we get caught up, and the biggest gift is to let yourself off the hook for believing the movie one more time. Here they are charging at me. And it's building that muscle of, this is no different than the movie that came at me a year ago, or 6 months ago, 4 years ago. Same, trying to convince me there are two powers. And there is just that one power. And even when we see ourselves going through the actions of perhaps biting the bait and going for, let's get to the solutions of this, let's figure this out, let's fight this. Even in watching the little one do that, there's this watcher behind that eventually we drop back in, and whatever it is dissolves eventually, maybe not immediately. Some things like to try a little harder to come in and wedge its way in. And once it's in, to let go of the guilt that, I failed to see it. I really thought that was a power greater than God. I really thought that momentarily. And I fall down all the time doing it. And as I said, these things that have been coming out here are our work. You know, our work is to learn how to stand more and more and more. And eventually we get to where you don't go out into the armies as fast. You don't run out into those environments that is going to, you learn after a while what is, I want to say safe, and I don't mean safe in the way that it'll hurt you, but I don't crawl into the swamps as fastly anymore as I used to get in there with, especially when someone else has the issue, you know, and they've come to you, say your child or your mate or something, and you want to get in there and fix it and come up with some solutions that are out there, which is fine, but that, you did it again, honey. Okay, well, back to the drawing board, so to speak. And we rest, even if it's for a moment. A breath, got in, oh, thought there were powers out here. And I'm not saying that there aren't powers in this third dimensional world, because they can sure, you know, fool us all, but why live there? Why stay in that dimension? Pull back out into the fourth dimension, into the spirit world, of spirit self, and let it just go on by like the river, something floating down the river. And some of those things coming down the river, you know, keeps throwing us the rope to pull it in, trying to get us to pull in. Let it go, let it go. It required years and years and years of meditation, almost of heartbreak, before it was revealed to me that the way to break hypnosis was to know that hypnotism is not a power. That is the only way, and that has been the function of the infinite way and the nature of my practice from that day to this. Not trying to break hypnotism, not trying to free anyone from being hypnotized, but knowing that that hypnotism itself is an activity of the carnal mind and therefore has no power and no law to sustain it, and that it is inoperative. To be a transparency for infinite intelligence and divine love means to recognize that the carnal mind, this mesmeric influence of two powers, is not power. It is not functioning in your or my experience and has no law of God to maintain or sustain. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, I really believe most of these have to do with that one. We did that one. Okay, here's one. I love this one. Can you please elaborate on why Joel says we are mentally sick? I rest my case. Look around. Just what I just said. We believe the mind, we're mentally sick. I mean, hello. You think this thing up here is filled with fabulous things that it's spurting out at us? Anyway, yes, mentally sick when we believe the stories and the stuff that are going on up here. I love that. And I'm the first to claim that and know that without that spirit self, who knows what road I'd be down. I'd probably be in Tijuana dancing on the tables naked or something. I don't know. Who knows, you know. And how can our concepts die? When we just get so bored with them, they just disgust us and we can't stand believing them anymore. You know, they're just like, oh, who wants to believe that? You know, do I want to be happy, joyous, and free, or do I want to believe that nonsense, you know? Here's another one. No, we did that one. That's actually, these are excellent questions. I love every one of them. And how can I literally how do we make them? It's amazing how the answers are always in the questions, and Joel used to say that. We make them powers by fearing them, and then greater powers by fighting them. Yes, so the answer's right in there. But then the rest of that was, how can I literally rest in the experience, not just the knowledge that God is the only power, and therefore this that troubles me has no power. Practicing over and over and over again, a minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, all day and night, going within, going within. We came into this world knowing that everything we saw, heard, tasted, touched. What did I miss? Felt something. Anyway, all of those faculties. That was our world. Our gods were those big people that walked over and gave us food. You know, we came in and everything we saw was out there. And then we're on a path that everything we see now has to come back within me, and it takes muscle and it takes time. And for God's sakes, meditate with other people that can lift. Where 2 or more are gathered, the lifting is so much higher. If you don't have anybody near you, pick up the phone and just say, are you meditating? Can I join you? You can stay on the line or hang up, because there's more power in that. And we do need each other to lift, because the carnal mind, that just means the head that's walking around on this fleshly body, you know, gets more creative every day. It just gets more creative to see if it can fool me. Okay. Can you discuss the statement? The statements. 1. Am I who has life? Is I who love? And I don't understand this. An I who has a life, or an I who lives, and an I that has a being. I am being, and Joel says, I who live and I am being. And in other tapes, Joel says, is it I who has a body, or I am body? And have it is clear. I who, question isn't even clear to me. I who has a body is truth, that I am not this body. Lee, could you answer that, please? You got the answer this morning.
What was the question?
It beats me, but I wouldn't go there. Whoever went there, just drop it. I think what's really
Let me just say what I heard this morning, because I'm supposed to. What
Yeah.
I heard this morning
is
Lee is not you. Lee is your ride.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wondered if the person was talking about the difference between the spiritual body and which is what.
Yeah, what I'm getting is the eyes and the bodies are getting mixed up. Because in some of the tapes, Joel says you never ever lose the body, you take it with you. And I've heard that, and I'm like, well, I don't like that idea. I wanted, a different height and a mocha colored and certainly a different body to deal with. So it sounds to me like we're just getting the eyes and the bodies mixed up. There is a spiritual body that is not, flesh and bone, and there is this physical carcass that will drop by the wayside. And as Lee heard this morning, this is sort of the vehicle, and this is the ride right now for the God that is living its life as. And don't get your eyes mixed up too a lot. And there's 3 words that Joel uses a lot that that one time he means it one way, and that's he says the I and it's capital, and then he'll talk about I, the little self, and then he'll talk about the body. You know, it's like taking literally the sacraments, where, you know, it's said that you're actually supposedly, I'm not Catholic, so if any Catholics here, don't let me offend you, because I just hear this, and that I'm actually literally, my friend told me, you know, we're literally eating the body of Christ when we eat that wafer, and we're literally drinking the blood when we drink the wine. And so it's that same thing. I mean, don't get it mixed up. You know, there's obviously, don't go literal on what is supposed to be spiritual, is my best guess on that one. I hope I got all these. Yeah, there's one more. This is another one where the eyes are getting mixed up. This last tape was powerful, since it stated, quote, when you are entertaining concepts, stop and go to capital I. I have not been able to stop something. What is that about? Oh, I guess not been able to do that. No duality, no concept. Why does that bring tears, almost a sense of fear? Oh, I remember now. I remember on the tape, it was pretty much having us give up going to God for anything whatsoever. And why does that bring tears and a sense of fear? It sounds like we're taking your God away from you, the God that perhaps you have relied on. You know, it sounds like that. And I said that yes, it is. When I first understood that too, that I did not have a daddy God that was going to make everything, you know, sweetness and light on an instant. In that way out here. And I said, it's like taking your teddy bear away. You know, when Joel does that, it's just like taking your Santa Claus away. Or when the first time you hear there's no Santa, first time you hear, you know, your mother says that teddy bear is, you got to go. You know, it's terrifying. It's terrifying until you understand that right there where I am walking, living, breathing, is the presence here and now. It's actually the good news, because the good news is there's nothing out there that you need to plead with or go with. It is you. It is you right there, breathing every breath, beating every heartbeat, living its life as. So at first to the kid, or that little innocent part of us, it sounds, you know, it's scary, because we take that outside God. I know, especially in certain programs, it sounds, you know, you go to God and it's going to do everything magical for you. And not out here, it isn't. It's going to do all the magic on the inside out. Okay. When it takes away the false God that never worked anyway. I mean, people have been on their knees. You know, in the East, they pray on their knees 5 times a day with the most sincere praying. And look at the Jewish wall, the sobbing that goes on, and the prayers in that wall. And everywhere you travel, there's always something. I know I went to the house of Mary in Ephesus. That was supposedly where she spent her last days. And there's a tree there where everybody ties little pieces of fabric, and you know, all of these wonderful things that. And you know, that stuff is still, you know, sometimes we do that outwardly. But as mystical students, we know that under all of that tradition, all of that outer behavior, whether it is taking the sacraments, or whether it's lighting the candles, or putting, you know, sending the prayers out in a bottle to the sea, or whatever, we come home. That's all. And whether the mind is projecting outwardly or not, we just have to come home. There just isn't anywhere else to go but home. There's nothing horizontal. You know, I can't write enough prayers to get my way. So what I can get is a resting back, a settling back into, oh, let's watch God present God. Let's just watch it unfold. And what happens? Here we are on a mountaintop. I mean, could heaven be any more beautiful than a place like this? A place where I live, a place where probably most of you live, is heaven on earth. You see, this is the kingdom right here, right now, when recognized. We are in it. We are it. We are seeing what we see. When we take our projector and stop seeing it through old conditioning and watch the movie shift, you know, we come out of the horror theaters and we move, before we know it, we're in Singing in the Rain, you know. Which I have to tell this story. Bud's phone, when it rings, plays Singing in the Rain, you know. Get your coat and get your coat and get your hat. Sunny side of the street.
Oh.
Well, we meditate all over it. This is so fun because, you know, we get so locked into meditation, and this is the way it has to be, and we have to be silent. Well, we go sometimes to the Self-Realization Fellowship in Phoenix because there's lovely meditation periods there of real silence, and we were going on Sundays, and when after he had been ill and he finally got well enough, we decided to go over, and so he had to walk. I don't know if you had your walker or your cane, but we had to go down, and we sat. Well, what happened was his phone was in his pocket, and at that time he's having a real hard time getting up and down. Well, he's in his pocket. I didn't know it was there. He didn't remember, and you know, we're there, and we'd been meditating about 15 minutes. I mean, 300 people in this chapel. Not a pin would drop. And all of a sudden, get your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side. You know, and it goes on and on and on. And he can't get it out, you know, and I'm, you know, and I had to laugh because there were people really put out by this, you know, and I'm like, honey, it's all God, you know, and this man that comes down from the back, you know, one of the older ushers, he has to turn that off. I looked up at him, like, he knows that, you know. But when you think about the song that it played, you know, I mean, that's what God is telling us all the time. Get your coat and get your hat, pick up your bed and walk, you know. Turn to the sunny side of the street, you know, anyway. Oh, God, that was a moment of real joy, actually, after I got over the embarrassment of being with him. Needless to say, we don't walk in there again without the phone staying in the car. Oh, Lord. But, you know, that's, I guess the whole point is God just is, and God is just all of it. Yes, if you're in the blessed silence, great. And if suddenly something shifts that, go with it. Don't fight it. Don't step on it and crush it. Don't, just like that party yesterday, you know. I was down there doing the labyrinth when it was happening, the highest of the rap music, and I'm just smiling and going along the labyrinth, you know. It's all God. All right. Yes, just some bullet points here. And something new did come out. Maybe I'll find it. Letting go of limitations. When I mentioned the Native American saying, I walk away, what are we saying? Take the power out of whatever that is appearing to me as power, I walk away, I turn within. So that's all I can say. And it's practice, 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 and there's times you will not walk away, but eventually, if you don't remind yourself, or the little nudge from the judge inside doesn't remind you, one of us will pick up the phone. One of us will know when you don't know. And this is back to how you know you're free is when you're not reacting. If you have a reaction, it's just the most beautiful gift of God. When you react, embrace it, love it, because you know that you were about to get caught, or you got caught, and know that that is a call to prayer right there. So when you get that reaction, don't say, oh no, I'm a terrible infinite way student, I reacted. No. Oh, there's no power. There's no power in my reaction, and there's no power in the thing that made me react. Step back, go to one power here now, and pick up your bed and walk and move to the sunny side of the street. Okay. Oh, this was wonderful. The more you stay in the oneness, the less affected by man's laws, concepts, and limitations and diseases. The more you rest in the law of God. You see, one power is a law. It's an absolute principle. It's an absolute law. You can stand on it like a rock. I don't care what anybody does to try to break that law. That is that's the law that matters. And the more you rest on that, the less these powers of man have anything, or the laws of man and the concepts. You see, there's a big difference in a principle and a concept. And men are trying to always lay many concepts on you, and we lay them on each other. But a principle is eternal. It's not going to change. It's not going to die. And the law of God of one power is not going to change just because the world is down here trying to create and convince you that there's two powers. Step back into the garden. That's all that is about. That analogy of the garden is being in the world, knowing, eating of the apple of two powers, and got to take up the sword and battle this. No, step back in the garden. One power, only one power. Okay, and that's the only sin, he said, is believing in a power outside yourself of good and evil. Oh, and he said the only discomfort, the only discomfort is a false sense of separation. Whenever I'm uncomfortable, I have separated from knowing that truth. Talked a lot about believing something up here versus knowing something because we have experienced it. When you're believing something or you're thinking, I want to go into the knowing, you're not going to do it up here. It's the wrong faculty. Look down. It's like magic. Look down into the heart and the soul. And for me, it's down. For you, it may be somewhere else. For me, maybe because the heart is there, I turn first down into the heart, and it leads me into the soul. And that's where the knowing is. The knowing isn't up here. So if you're trying to know something up here, for me, the knowing is the wrong faculty. It's knowing, and then that comes up, or God's then makes this up here in an avenue of awareness of God's messages, not what is coming from the outside or the computer brain. So make sure you go to the right faculty. It says the mind can't know. It can only believe or think. It can't know. It's not its job. It's to think and to believe. Okay, the anchors that we stand on are the three omnis, always omnipresence, omnipotence, which means all powerful, all knowing, omniscience. Those are our rocks. Those are our anchors to God. Right identity. Okay, healing, healing, healing. It just has no power. I don't care if your legs and arms fall off, which mine some days feel like they're going to. Right identity is the answer to anything out there. Right identity. I don't care who's coming at you with what story or disease trying to convince you otherwise, including my own body. My own body tries to convince me that I have all of those things that everybody else in the world seems to have. The mind and the body together like to conjure up stuff when I am not standing porter at the door with God knowing. It's just clutter. It's just clutter. It's attachments. You know, if something comes by, all I can say is it's better to not grab it and attach to it than it's easier to not do that, to tell you the truth, than to try to unattach after the Velcro has gotten on there. You know, these things that are coming to our mind, we have that other little Velcro piece, you know, and it comes that way. You know, don't let it get a hold. But once it is, it's like ripping that open is even harder, and you usually need another person to help you, pull you out of the hypnosis. Okay, here we go. The other things that wanted to come out and was going bump in my night when this was coming out. Big difference in personalizing and individualizing. Each and every one of you are unique and individual just like everyone else. And it's not personal. It's such a difference. Yes, some can do music, some can do something else. And that's God individualizing, but it's not personal. It doesn't matter if you're the fireman or the musician or the mother or the teacher. It's just, this is what I'm here to do. But it's not personal. It's just individual, God individually. And you are an endangered species. There's never going to be another snowflake just like you, you know. They're every one of them. How can that be that every snowflake literally is unique and different, and yet it's a snowflake? And yes, you're individual, and yet it's God. It's just God. It's just snow. I love that. It's a beautiful analogy. Okay. Again, there's no other answer to healing but impersonalizing it and realizing right identity. It's got to be God. And like I said, if your head falls off or you're, you know, so what? You're only here 70, 80, 90, 100 years anyway in this particular incarnation. It means nothing. It's a twinkle in God's eye. You know, if you're not finished learning, you'll come back to the earth plane. If not, you'll be somewhere else, but you'll always be I am that I am. And if I sound like I take death lightly, it's because I do. It's just the way it is. I do. I have from a little girl. I just never knew why people got so upset when people were leaving. Thought, well, that might be a fun thing to do. Who knows? Who knows what's over the hill, you know? In the presence of spiritual law, this is where all that other came from. In the presence of spiritual law and principle, all mental and physical laws cannot operate. Isn't that a relief? But in the presence of principle and law, God's principle, God's law, the others cannot operate. This presence, this power, dissolves all other appearing powers the way light dissolves darkness. It never was. But we have to be consciously aware of that presence. As Barbara Muhl, one of our teachers, always said, but you must recognize the presence right there in the midst of that which is appearing as power. I just call it, or maybe, I don't know who said it, or I liked it, and I heard it somewhere, get God on the scene. Get God on the scene. You know, the stage play's happening here, get God in between you and that stage, you know. And again, some of that sounds like separation, but it's the only way I can, say it. The reason for failing to heal you or anyone else is that you are trying to improve or heal that which does not exist. Sure could have fooled me, huh? You're trying to heal that which does not exist. And these are statements off the tapes that we've either heard here or I've heard within the last week. There's nothing to heal except seeing through the conceptual experience and seeing that what is, and that is there all along. Okay, remembering again, what is real cannot change. It's like, what, do you want to live in reality of infinity, eternality, cannot change? Or do you want to focus on that which is here today, gone tomorrow? It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. And sometimes you wish it would go tomorrow, or today, and it won't go, and there it is again tomorrow. But believe me, it will go. And you know that. I mean, look at history, look at your life. My goodness. So I hope everyone picked up one of those pages of the rainbow paper with the difference in reality. Okay, now everybody's going to get let off the hook, especially the new students who are struggling. The battle is not yours. From Joel's private papers. We think we got to take all of this on, and it's up to me. And Joel will say that. He'll say on the stage, "It is your responsibility." And I'm going, "Oh my God, I failed again. It's your responsibility." But then he says this: whenever you are going through a period of unhappiness or illness or lack of peace or lack of prosperity or frustrations, remember that this has, capital letters, nothing to do with your outer world. It is imperative that you grasp this. You will be tempted to believe your external world is causing the difficulty, that it is distracting you or causing you pain, but this is not so at all. If you can discern that this represents a battle going on within you, you will quickly achieve victory just through the ability to discern that no person or condition or situation is doing anything to you. This is a battle within you. Your higher self, when you have embraced the Christ, is seeking ascendancy over the mortal sense into which you were born. This is the Son of God in you struggling to come into manifestation and expression. I must not seek victory over the outer conditions or persons, but rather let the Christ of me come into ascendancy, and it will be the light revealing that there is no darkness. The battle can never be against people or conditions or things. The battle must be always within yourself until your real self, your spiritual self, has risen. Then you will find that this outer world is already heaven. When you are tempted to fight any false sense of appetite, sin, disease, lack, etc., relax and realize that none of that it is true. Don't condemn yourself. The battle is your Christ self trying to break through into manifestation. And as you relax from the struggle, stop condemning yourself, stop fighting evil, and put up your sword and rest in quietness and peacefulness. The Christ will then come into ascendancy. We must practice what we are taught. We must accept that principle that Christ is breaking through. It is no contest between you and another student. We have nowhere else to go but to the Christ. Every knee is going to bend. So let the battle rage and let the Christ do its work. Let the Christ come into ascendancy. You and I can do nothing about that. We can't make it so. We can't hurry it. All we can do is surrender and be as forgiving of ourselves as we are of our neighbors. The Master said, I come not to bring peace, but a sword. The Christ does not come in to lift you on cloud nine existence. It comes to tear you away from that little self which must die, the one way or another. Even the good self, it has to die, the do-gooder. When you are going through difficulties, it is so important to remember that it is the Christ that is doing it, and it is not the devil or the Satan after you. It is not your job, your illness, your domestic situation. It is the Christ. It is doing this in order to take you out of your fleshly peace, your temporal peace, and even your fleshly health. Be not afraid, it is I. So let's go back in and have spirit. So take a deep breath and come home. Let all of this wash over you and through you, and allow yourself to become a transparency of that which is knocking on your door for ascendancy. Let the Christ enter mind, body, spirit, heart, soul. Take a deep breath. Be still and know that I am presence here now, going before you. God can only be present in the now. It can't go up ahead an hour from now. Just here now, and then now, and then now, moment by moment. Relax back, let go, give it up, lay down the sword, free yourself. God, spare me from the desire to seek love, approval, and appreciation out there. To know thee aright is life eternal. To know God aright is life eternal. I thirst for nothing but you, Spirit, to reveal yourself. I hunger for only the food that you can bring. Show me, Father, what I am to do. Lead the way.